So what are you going to be doing?
Hey, should I start my sermon on disabled?
Probably not tonight. I'm not going to have time to look at it. And just email it to me and then I'll get back.
Thought about
okay?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but I kind of want to. I wasn't. Yeah, I think I know a lot of people kind of naturally feel that.
Right.
Very cool. And now,
I'll be ready for the semester, and then I'm trying to go to the US.
Hey, Harry, how are you doing?
hey, I'm good, Ken.
All right. Good. That gives me something to think about. Thank you.
Are you going to be able to make lunch? This place is near where we went to that Aussie restaurant?
Walk away.
Okay. It's on that Lake Worth Road or whatever.
In fact, that's the park where we parked the other place.
Yeah, I went around a lot. And, yeah, I forget what it's
All those,
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I know where it is and I can't tell you the name of it. I'm looking at a map and saying, it's in the K route. That parking lot is still probably the best.
Yeah. Can't be that far. Yeah, I have a doctor's appointment early in the morning, but it's at 9, about 9:30.
When you go to a doctor's office,
I just take a book.
I went to a doctor's office in and out in a hurry.
It's all in the past scene, so we know it's our doctors. It's a little quicker. Yeah, I go back to my regular gastroenterologist to see if I go back and what kind of schedule I
For some reason, I had 10 minutes.
No, he is hiding. You know, he started taking on more North Korea, North Korea.
Oh, jeez.
la Cama by Mozart first for you this morning, and the translation is Let Smiling Calm.
No, you're return it. Is this okay? Okay, all right. Hi, my name is Marina. I'll be singing Riden de la Calma by Mozart, written in the 1700s for you all this morning. And the translation is Let Smiling Calm.
Unitarian Universalist congregation of the Palm Beaches. I'm Rachel Melcher, and I'm honored to serve as your worship assistant this morning. Our progressive, welcoming, inclusive, and judgment-free congregation is a liberal religious community of diverse and free-thinking individuals. We come together to seek truth, spiritual growth, and social justice. As people who learn, love, share, and serve together, we welcome all into our family. Our call to worship today is responsive reading number 650, Cherish Your Doubts, which is in the back of your hymnal. Please turn with me to number 650. I'll begin, and we invite you to respond with the words in italics. Cherish your doubts, for doubt is the attendant of truth.
Doubt is the key to the door of knowledge. It is the servant of discovery.
A belief which which may not be questioned binds us to error, for there is incompleteness and imperfection in every belief.
Doubt is the touchstone of truth. It is an acid which keeps away false.
Let no one fear for the truth that doubt may consume it, for doubt is a testing of belief.
The truth stands boldly and unafraid. It is not shaken by the testing.
For truth, if it be truth, arises from each testing stronger, more secure.
Those that will silence doubt are filled with fear. Their houses are built on shifting sands.
But those who fear not doubt and know its use are founded on rock.
They shall walk in the light of the growing knowledge. The work of their hands shall endure.
Therefore, let us not fear doubt, but let us rejoice in its help.
It is to the wise as a staff to the blind. Doubt is the attendant of truth.
Amen.
And good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Dan Lambert, and I serve this congregation as the ministerial leader. I would like to add my thanks to Marina for opening us with that beautiful prelude. For those of you who may not know, she is Paylene's daughter, just graduated from high school this past, what happened? Oh, yeah. Paylene plays piano and raises her hand. Maria just graduated from high school a couple days ago, so congratulations. And she is going to FAU, right? To study music, oddly enough. So I think that's super fantastic, and we're really glad to have her here to share her talent with us today. As we begin our service like we do each week, we will start with lighting the chalice, which symbolizes bringing us together from our walks of life, from our experiences, from all of the relationships and interactions that we've had during this past week. It brings us together as one, where we invite the light and the warmth of the flame to bring us together in community. We invite you to stand together as we sing, "Come, Come, Whoever You Are," and then remain standing for our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. Please be seated. Each week we ask that you simply sign in if you'd like to with our attendance pads as they come down the aisle. I think that we have them ready to pass out. We do this not just to keep track and then tell the government who's here and who's not. And I know that some of you are in the FBI Witness Protection Program, so don't sign in if that's you. But it's just a way that we keep track of who's here each week, and if we are missing some of you, then we contact you and say, hey, we hope you're fine, we noticed that you haven't been here. And then if you're a visitor, we'd love for you to sign in and give us some contact information, a phone number, email address, so that we know how to get a hold of you and say hi, and make sure that you felt warmly welcomed here today. So as the pads come around, just pass them down the aisle, and then the ushers will come and pick them up in a few moments. I do see a few new faces today, which is fantastic. We love having visitors with us, and we give an opportunity for our visitors to stand and say hello if you'd like to. So we have a microphone that will come around, not magically on its own, but Chris has it and he'll hand it to you. So if you're a visitor, we invite you to stand, tell us your name, where you're from, and why you decided to visit us today. So is there anybody that would like to stand and say hello to us by way of introduction this morning? There's one. Okay, sure. There's another. stand up, and here comes the microphone.
Hi, I'm Amin. I'm a recipient of the award, so that's really what brought me here today. But I decided to attend the church service because I've grown up in such a strong faith household. I went to Christian school and I went to a Catholic school, and I think it's important to be surrounded by people who believe the same as you. And something just was on my heart, so I really wanted to attend church and see what God was trying to tell me.
Good. Thank you so much. Really nice to have
Good morning. My name is Judith Crossett. Technically, I am the Reverend Judith Crossett. I'm an Episcopal deacon. A deacon's job is to be a prophetic voice, to bring the needs of the world to the church, to be out in the world, listening to the world. And the more I think about her career, that's what my grandmother, Harriet Glassner, was. She has been a great inspiration to me throughout my career. So I'm here in her honor and in honor of the students who are receiving the scholarships in her name. And thank you all so much for doing this.
Thank you, Judith. Any other visitors would like to stand? We have one over here.
I probably have enough voice for everyone.
Oh, we have a few hearing aids that disagree with you.
Okay.
My name is Kathy Smith, and I live with some of these people here in this next row. I've always been a Christian with an eclectic taste, and I've visited various Unitarian churches over my lifetime, and I just find everyone is talking to the same man.
Good. Thank you so much.
Excuse me, or a woman.
Anyone else like to say hi? Great. Well, thank you so much for being here, and we would just like to point out that we do have a special luncheon today after the service. Typically, we have just a social hour with some snacks and coffee and water and that. But we have a special luncheon in honor of our Harriet Glassner Scholarship Award winners. But everyone's invited. There's plenty of food. Please don't feel awkward about staying. We'd love to have you stay and sit and get to know us better, and we can get to know you a little bit better. It's a really important part of our week to have this time to be together in a worship service and then have the social hour to sit together and just chat and learn. And that's where we build community. So we invite all of you, even the first-time visitors, to stick around for that. And we'll have a bit more to say about the Harriet Glassner scholarships in just a few moments. But at this time, let's sing our first hymn. That's number 203 in the hymnal, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. And I believe that, no, what happened? So we're doing 3 verses, 3 random verses, or just the first 3? Okay, just the first 3 verses, apparently. So we invite you to stand and sing All Creatures of the Earth and Sky.
Shining moon
invite Judy Bonner to come up and share with us for a couple moments about the Harriet Glasser Scholarships. And as we start, I just would like to hold up this painting. Part of the reason that Judith is here is because I contacted her last summer and said, do you have any good pictures of Harriet Glasser that we might be able to hang somewhere in the church just to honor her? There was one that was up that goes to the minister's office, but it was a photocopy of a bad picture from several years ago. And Judith emailed me back and she said, I'll do you better than that. How about an old painting from the 1950s? So that's how we got a hold of this. It was in a box, in a closet that nobody really had room to hang in their home anymore. Is that right, Judith?
In fact, it's been under my father's bed for several years. When he died, it came to me, but I no longer had room to hang it.
And so the frame was beat up, it had chips in it, and we found an artist in the area who helped to restore it. And so we will proudly hang this for as long as we're allowed to have it, to show this beautiful painting that I guess Harriet's husband in the mid-50s had done, as far as we know. It was painted by a renowned painter by the name of Peter Cook, who did several portraits and landscape paintings and was very well known in the 50s and 60s. So, just wanted to share that with everyone. Your turn, Judy. Sorry.
Hi, I'm Judy Bonner, and I want to welcome you all. You're in for a treat today, as Dan mentioned. After service in Ministers Hall, we'll be celebrating our scholarship winners and enjoying a picnic lunch, indoors of course. I'm a member of the scholarship team, and I'd like to introduce the other members of the team. Please stand up so everybody can see you. Sylvia Anse, Sam Irwin, and Sadika Johnson. So that's our team. I'm happy that a couple of our scholarship recipients are joining us this morning for service. You are so welcome. The rest will be joining us over in Ministers Hall. The scholarship fund is made possible through a generous grant from a former member of this congregation as a way to acknowledge scholars who are making a difference in their community and face challenges in furthering their education. It's named the Harriet Glasser Social Justice Scholarship after Harriet Glasser, who came to Palm Beach County in 1952 and almost immediately began advocating for civil rights, women's rights, reproductive justice, and human rights. During the 1970s, Harriet was instrumental in organizing the county's Planned Parenthood, emergency medical assistance, the Urban League, and the county chapter of the ACLU. Harriet and her husband Rudolph were members and strong supporters of this congregation. Her granddaughter's here today, as we heard, to help us celebrate our scholars. Our scholars this year are all returning students. A brief bio is in your order of service, or gave to you on the yellow sheet. And the award ceremony later in Ministers Hall, you'll get to hear more about each of them. Our grant collection today will go to our scholarship fund. All monies collected, except those marked as pledge, will go to the fund. Please read your scholars' bios and be as generous as possible. If you are short on funds today, you can drop a check at the office or give to one of our team members. And we thank you for your generosity. And I'd just like to add a personal note that next Sunday will be my husband Brian and I last Sunday. We're moving to North Carolina, and we'd like to thank you all for everything you've done for us over the years that we've been here. We've really enjoyed being a part of this congregation. Thank you.
I'm going to go off script for a couple minutes because I don't want to let what Judy just said go by too quickly. Brian, could you come up here too, please? In the almost 3 years that Tess and I have been attending here, Brian and Judy have been stalwarts when it comes to the social justice work we've done as a congregation. And I see Judy especially, I'm Brian as well, but I see Judy especially as our modern day Harriet Glasper in so many ways. In the short time I've been here, I can't think of a major social justice activity that we've been involved with or promoted that she hasn't been a champion of in some way, shape, or form. And so we're going to miss them dearly, not just their personalities and the way that they bring light to us, but their passion for social justice, for the work that they've done. Filling in all of their volunteer hours is going to be a yeoman's effort for us as a congregation. So I just wanted to make sure that we took time to appreciate who they are and what they've done for us. And please make sure that you give them a personal farewell today or tomorrow. They'll be back and forth some, I'm sure. But we're not going to see them nearly as much as they did. They're not going to serve on committees and help with social justice and finance and planning and all the things they've done here through the years. So let's just take a moment and appreciate all that they've done for us. Thank you so much. Thanks just isn't enough. I do want to share as well, we're kind of all goofy out at work, but that's how we do things around here. You know, one of the jokes is people say that they come to Unitarian Universalist churches because they don't like organized religion, and we're pretty much as disorganized as you can get, right? So that works out kind of well. This plaque is going to hang alongside of Harriet's portrait, and I just want to read to you what this says so that you can have an even bigger sense of what she did in her life and as a member of this congregation. This is what the plaque reads. Harriet Glasper, 1905 to 2002. Founding member of the First Unitarian Church, respected humanitarian and social justice advocate. Harriet founded, co-founded, or led the following Palm Beach County organizations: Alternative Sentencing Program, American Civil Liberties Union, American Red Cross, Association of Religious Organizers, Blue Dwyer Community Center, Center for Family Services, Community Relations Board, Division of Comprehensive Alternatives, Emergency Medical Assistance, Florida Council on Human Relations, Hospice of Palm Beach County, I'm not done yet, NAACP, Palm Beach Funeral Society, Planned Parenthood, Share a Home, and Urban League. Harriet was a tireless warrior for social justice who played a major role in the women's rights, pro-choice, and racial integration movements of this area. And the portrait is by renowned artist Peter Cook, commissioned by her husband Rudolph in the mid-1950s. So both the painting and the plaque will hang side by side for as long as we have them. That was a lot. I feel like this would be a great time for us to have a moment of silence and an opportunity to light candles. We share a moment of silence each week to give us a chance to be still, which we rarely do in today's society. To think about what's happened in your life over the past several days, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, in the world, to lift those joys and those burdens up to the universe so that you don't have to carry them and that you get to share what you're feeling and what you're experiencing. After a moment of silence, the piano will begin to play, and at that time you're invited to come and light a candle at the table here to my left and your right, in honor and memory and praise and sharing, whatever the purpose is of lighting that candle. It's important. The light, the flame, the warmth will then lift up your burdens and your joys to the universe so that we all can bear them together. Let's have a moment of silence at this time. humanity closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. The purpose of this congregation is to encourage all who gather here to grow more and more generous in both spirit and in action. Each week we take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that supports this congregation and our many ministries. If you prefer, you can give electronically through our website, which is how we do it. Each week we also collect non-perishable items for our local food bank in the large basket here in front. And I would just like to emphasize that today is the third Sunday of the month when we always take a special collection for some social action ministry in the area that we support. And today our organization is our very own Harriet Glassner Scholarship Fund. This was set up, as Judy shared, by an individual a few years ago, and it was not set up as a foundation, as an endowment, as a way that we can operate simply off of the interest from this. And so that money is dwindling. And we want to continue to be able to bless students who need and deserve some financial help by continuing the scholarship. And so we've had some discussion about how to make that happen, maybe tie it into our own endowment, have a separate section of the endowment in some way. But I just ask today that you really consider how important you believe this work is as community outreach, as supporting students who might not get the support in other ways. And whether you have extra cash in your wallet you can throw in, or an extra check you'd like to write, a pledge you'd like to make specifically for the scholarship, finances, that would be fantastic. But this is clearly something that means a lot to us as a congregation. It's a great thing we do for the community. So as the ushers come forward, your gifts and your generosity will be most gracefully received. Thank you again, Marina. So have you had a chance to look at the images in the order of service? The top one, with two people on the opposite sides of this numeral, has been around the internet for a long time. They're looking at it from different perspectives, one saying it's a 6, the other saying it's a 9. Which is the truth? The truth because of your perspective. The second one, you might look at this way, you might turn it upside down or sideways, and you can't really figure out what these figures are doing, what's the appropriate stance or position to read this, but it says different angles will give different perspectives. And the bottom one is an image that we've talked about before. It's an ancient Chinese proverb, actually, about how you perceive an elephant depends upon your perspective on the elephant. So each of these individuals in the story actually is without sight, and they can only feel the elephant. So their conclusion about what it is based on their perspective of only the part of the elephant they can feel. So perspectives matter. Excuse me. As we go on in our series on imponderables, one of the things that challenges us as human beings is to be able to step back from our own reality, to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, to look at things from a different angle, a different perspective, in different ways, to get information that we don't usually give, to get outside of our own bubble, and to begin to learn from different perspectives. This is called our a priori starting point, our very most basic truth that we understand and for the most part don't want to or refuse to argue about. This is just what we accept as reality. It's how we take in and evaluate information. As humans, we tend to value data that supports our already created assumptions. It's called confirmation bias. We read news, we read books, we watch TV shows, listen to music, hang out with people that believe or promulgate our already deeply held beliefs. We live in a bubble in that way, confirmation bias. Why do we do that, and how can we be more aware of it? Because we can never truly overcome or eliminate it entirely. That's the purpose of the message today. This past week, the internet was abuzz because of a survey conducted by a polling company called Civic Science. Maybe some of you saw this. The outrage was over one of their findings that 56% of all Americans do not believe our schools should be teaching Arabic numerals. Anybody see this? Some of you? So, 56% of Americans do not believe we should be teaching Arabic numerals in our schools. So what's our alternative? If we don't teach Arabic numerals, what kind of numerals should we be teaching? Roman numerals. We have to reprogram everything. So we laugh at this and say, oh, those conservatives, they're just so concerned about Arabs and Muslims that they're anti-anything that says those words. But, excuse me, I'm a little froggy this morning, I apologize. Liberals and progressives, of course, were outraged by the prejudice and ignorance of this shows. But this organization, the Center for Civic Science, isn't stupid. They know that we all have our confirmation biases. In that very same research study, as part of the survey, it shows the tribal impulses of people in a way to answer these questions without, first of all, understanding the elements of it and interpreting what it means, and it allows their true biases to show through. Liberals didn't fare any better in this survey. This is not something that you probably saw on the internet unless you took a deep dive into this story. The survey also posted this question. Should schools in America teach the creation theory of Catholic priest George Lemaitre as part of their science curriculum? No? 53% of the respondents to this survey, 53% of liberals said no. Anybody know this name, George, the father of the priest George Lemaitre? Anyone? Okay, some of you do because you read the story. His theory was the precursor to what we now call the Big Bang Theory. He was the first one to propose the idea that the universe is expanding and started at a single point, at some point billions of years ago. So to say that we should not be teaching the theory that was originally proposed by this Catholic priest is to say that we should not be teaching the Big Bang Theory, that we should not be teaching evolution in the way that we all have come to know it. And sorry, of course, to break this to everyone, but it appears that neither side, conservatives or liberals, has a monopoly on blind prejudice. We are all guilty of it in some way. And we know that through the survey, 73% of people who identified as Democrats, they said that they shouldn't be teaching this theory. But we know that Democrats don't believe we should not be teaching the Big Bang Theory in our schools. Here's another one. A different group called the Public Policy Polling Organization released results of a poll that showed 41% of Trump supporters and 19% of self-identified Democrats supported bombing Agrabah. Who knows where Agrabah is located? Where is Agrabah?
What's a Disney?
It's the fictional city in the movie Aladdin. So why would so many people support bombing an Arab-sounding name for a town? Because they assumed ISIS was there or something. But I don't think most people are in favor of bombing cities in fictional Disney movies. Some of you might like to destroy all Disney movies, but that's a different discussion. Why do we tend to believe such goofy ideas? Because we're mostly born into these ideas. We are all products of our families, our cultures, our education system. Sometimes we simply believe what we already want to believe, and we hear only what we want to hear. For example, here's something that's bothered me for a long, long time. Bananas. Are bananas good for you or bad for you?
Yes.
Yes is the appropriate answer. It depends who you talk to and what research study you believe. Would we all be healthier if we were vegetarians or vegans? No! That is not what research shows. Yet we believe that meat is simply bad for us because we weren't born or evolved to eat meat, or because of what it does to our systems or our brains. Dr. Maggie, don't look at me like that. I can feel it from here. Are honeybees dying out and thus jeopardizing our crops and all of humanity? No. That is false science. That is fake news. There was one study saying that specific colonies kept by beekeepers have been reducing and dying out. But overall around the world, people who count honeybees, I don't even know how they do that. There's research that shows the population of wild honeybees in the world, including America and Europe, have been steady for the past 50 years. There's no decline. And it's not affecting our crops. And honeybees aren't even native to North America. So there were crops, things, flowers, and everything growing here long before there were honeybees. There are lots of different insects and ways for pollen to be spread. Our basic beliefs, our own a priori assumptions, start when we are young, and they come from our family and our surrounding culture. This is called tribalism, and it's perfectly understandable from an evolutionary standpoint. Tribalism is what helped early humans survive. They gathered around in their family groups and their close-knit groups, and they protected each other from other tribes that might come and want to conquer their land or take their village or their crops or their food or whatever wealth they might have. And so in order to defend themselves, they came up with a narrative that defended them as being better than others. That's evolutionary theory, how we evolved as societies. As Unitarian Universalists, we are challenged to do better than this, however. Our fourth principle says this: a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Often we emphasize the words truth and meaning in that principle, when, in my opinion anyhow, the emphasis really should be on free and responsible, because that puts the onus on us to keep searching, to continue to gather information and to find ways to learn. Our 6 sources of our living tradition, which some of you maybe have noticed this, in the order of service we have a box in here, it's in red. Today it says the 6 sources of our living tradition. Every other week it is our 7 principles. We alternate those. So one week it's the 7 principles, one week it's the 6 sources, one week it's, that was not my idea, that was, I think, Larry and Dick came up with that idea. That's easy for us to do. So our 6 sources tell us what our framework is for understanding and discovering truth. It's just a fact that as humans we are comforted by that which is familiar. I mean, when you think about something as simple as our standards of beauty, beauty, people say, is the sum total average of all the faces we've ever seen. Well, if you're surrounded by people who look like you, you're going to find people who look like you more attractive. If you travel, you spend time in other cultures, with other types of people, other races, other nationalities, your image of beauty will shift. And not even just physical beauty. It's true of music or of other forms of art, of literature, and so many other ways. Interpersonal prejudice comes from a lack of exposure and a lack of understanding about different people or ideas or experiences, and that prejudice and bias could be reduced through exposure to different people or ideas or experiences over time with some specific conditions in place. How many of you have worked for an organization where you've had to do some type of diversity training or workplace bias training of some type? That's most of us in this day and age. Research is showing that those trainings don't make any difference because they're not done well. Usually they're surrounded or they involve some type of role play, hypothetical situations. What would you do if? Would you recognize prejudice if? Blah, 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 blah. Those hypothetical situations don't change minds, however. There are some ways that we can change minds, change our perspective, and change the way we see others. I'll share about that in a couple moments. Of course, because we live in the information age where everything we need to know is on the internet, there is a free online assessment through Harvard University that helps us to measure and understand our own unconscious biases that we have in a variety of categories in our life. They have studied issues like skin tone, race, weight, gender, disabilities, Arab Muslim backgrounds, other type of ethnic backgrounds. The Harvard University research is leading this project, call it Project Implicit. Project Implicit, which means they're looking for implicit biases we all have. If you want to go there, you can search for Harvard University Project Implicit. You can go to their website and do some of these assessments. You've got to do a few of them to get a sense of what they're all about. They do them in different ways, but I would encourage you to do this. I actually tried a couple as I prepared this message. It was fascinating, and I have a lot more biases than I think I do. One really easy exercise that researchers say has the most impact on us facing our own biases and learning about others and broadening our horizons is this really simple exercise. If we had more time, if this was like a workshop or a class, I'd have you all take out a piece of paper and have you write down the 3 most recent movies that you've seen. You can think about this as we go along. 3 most recent movies that you've seen. 3 most recent television shows that you've watched. 3 most recent books that you've read. 3 most recent types of music that you've listened to. 3 most recent groups of people that you've spent time with. Conversations that you've had. If you make these lists and you look at them, you'll see that they're going to be very homogeneous, almost always. They're going to come from the same political or social point of view. They're going to come from the same racial or ethnic point of view. That's what creates the bubble. That's what creates confirmation bias. The problem with this is something that if you were on the internet or listened to the news at all this week, we saw in the now re-burning debate about pro-life versus pro-choice, and the number of states passing very restrictive abortion laws with the sole purpose of them going to the Supreme Court and have Supreme Court again face the precedent of Roe versus Wade, believing that they will overturn Roe versus Wade and allow states to then pass and create their own laws. So taking this exercise and then expanding your horizons by changing your sources of information or your entertainment or your leisure time, it's called the 1% rule. If you want to be 1% better than you are now in the next month, pick up a book that's written by an author from a demographic that's very different from anything you normally read. Listen to music from groups or genres that are very different from anything you normally listen to. This might be the most challenging one. Read and watch sources of news that you don't normally expose yourself to. See, I've lost all of you right there, haven't I? I'm not watching Fox News. I don't care how much you pay me. I can hear you. I hear the murmurs. Watch a TV show with lead characters that don't look anything like you. Spend some time at dinner, at lunch, going to places with ethnic groups that are not your own. It's really easy to do for the most part because we can start by doing this in the privacy of our own home without the fear of judgment of those around us. These types of exercises, this type of cultural exposure is something that Harriet Glassner, whose legacy we're honoring and remembering today, practiced and modeled in her life. That's why she's such a major figure for us and for Palm Beach County. Our fourth principle of free and responsible search for truth and meaning challenges us to continue to learn about ourselves and the people and world around us. It is a free search and a responsible search. It means our search for truth and meaning must conform to some reasonable norms of research, and that it must reasonably challenge us to explore ideas very different than our own, very different than what we do naturally. So don't close yourself off and live in a bubble of safe people and safe information that simply reaffirms who you are and what you think and what you believe and what you feel. Whether or not you believe it's okay for our public schools to teach Arabic numerals to children, or if you believe that Father George Lamontre's theory of creation is valid, as Unitarian Universalists, we are called to keep learning, to keep changing, to keep growing throughout our adult lives. You've probably all heard the famous Albert Einstein quote, "Once you stop learning, you start dying." Death by ignorance is especially sad. And it's sad not because it's so pervasive, but because it's so avoidable. Live and learn while you can. Face your own biases, your own prejudices, your own tribal beliefs, and then expand your consumption of information to push outside of your natural bubble. It's even more possible and a lot more fun and interesting when you do that as part of a community of fellow travelers, which is one of the key strengths that we offer you here in this congregation. You are welcome and you are invited to continue your journey of growth and learning and living with us as part of this community.
Our closing hymn is number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. I invite you to stand as we sing together.
For
Ma sempre famerò, sì, nel mio denare, amando e pennerò, ma sempre famerò, sì, nel mio denare, pennerò, amerò, luccicore, amerò, senza teme di diletto, hanno affetto e sospirare, senza sperme di diletto, hanno affetto e sospirare. Arrivo di dostrirai, ma i volti sbattirai, e non femare, ma i vostri dottirai, chi va di attorai, e non femare, e non
Thank you so much, Joe. Wasn't it nice having a bunch of classical music today? It was really weird when I came in because normally the band is practicing when I get here and it's loud, and today it was silent, and Ken and Lynn wasn't really weird sitting there not being up and down. Paylene said it felt like she was having a vacation because she didn't have to corral the band and get them all to pay attention and practice. And so that was really nice. Thank you, Joe and Marina, for being here and sharing your talents with us today. I'll just remind you that we do have the Harriet Glasper Scholarship Luncheon, and we'd love for all of you to stay, even if you're not planning on it, even if you're a first-time visitor. There's plenty of food, and it's a wonderful celebration. We'd love to sit and get to know you some, so please join us at Ministers Hall, which is in the building across the parking lot behind me. It's wonderful to have you all here on this day. Thank you for taking time to be with us, and as always, please remember to be a blessing to everyone you meet.
Singing in the back of the motorcycles. Do you know what I went to say to music's musician for 2 years? He's planning about how music's feeling. Any other self-respecting college freshman in South Africa?
Probably find something. Margaret, I'd like you to say hello to Judith.
I'm from Iowa. I've been there a long time now.
This is Harriet's granddaughter. Harriet's granddaughter.
Just a quick suggestion. Anybody's interested in the ministry this afternoon?